Hello, music fans. Welcome to Music as a Journey. I'm Peter. I have started my usual beginning of the year by talking about albums that go back to 50 years ago and 40 years ago. And this year, I even went to albums that go back 30 years and 20 years. Said I was going to stop there, though. However, at the end of my 20 years old this year video, I did hint that I might be considering 1966. And so I did. In fact, I actually already recorded, edited, and uploaded a video, which is scheduled to come out the day after the recording of this one. And I just realized it's way too long. I'm telling stories about every single thing I show, and I just decided to show everything I had in my collection from 1966. And in the end, it turned out that I actually forgot about 3 albums. So what I've decided to do here, what I have is I have some albums that are the complete album on CD. I have some compilation CDs that include the complete 1966 album, as well as other things. And then I also have a bunch of compilations that include some songs from 66. I will just briefly show you the compilations at the end. If you would like to hear me talk for 41 minutes about most of the music in my collection from 1966, I will put a link to that video here. I'm going to unlist it, but I will put a link here, and as well, I will put a link in the description. So if you'd rather watch that than this, you're free to go do that now. If you'd like a shorter version, I'm going to try to make this video a little bit shorter. So here we go. First off, the Beatles' Revolver from 1966. This is, believe it or not, the only Beatles album I have in my collection. It's just the way it went. It is, of course, one of the Beatles' biggest albums. It is one that is, one of the ones that are most frequently talked about, along with Rubber Soul, Sgt. Pepper's, Abbey Road, and Naked, Let It Be. Let It Be Naked? Yeah. I've heard about that one a lot recently, too. So, of course, this one features, Taxman starts off with Taxman. We've got Eleanor Rigby on here, Here, There, and Everywhere, which was incidentally covered by episode 6 with Roger Glover and Ian Gillan. We've got Yellow Submarine on here. Few other ones, Got to Get You Into My Life. One here that is my favorite, actually, is And Your Bird Can Sing. I think it might be, it's my favorite song on this album. I think the overall mixing of everything is really good in that song, because some of the songs are mixed with that 1966 we discovered stereo approach, where they will put the drums off in the back of the right channel, and then they will put like John Lennon's guitar in the front of the right channel and George Harrison over in the left channel, and then I don't remember where the bass ended up, but then like the vocals will all be at the front. So when you're listening with in-ear earphones, you hear the drums in the right channel somewhere behind your head. I suppose it was meant to sound really cool in your living room. Like you could imagine the band is there in different positions around your living room. Like John Lennon is standing here and George Harrison is standing there and Ringo Starr is off in the back corner behind the ficus plant. But anyway, I'm not too keen on listening to those kinds of mixes. So And Your Bird Can Sing is a wonderfully full, I don't know if it's mono, but I hear it very wonderfully when I listen to it. And I also love the song. All right, another album I have from 1966. This is a CD that I bought way back around in the early 90s, the Kinks' Face to Face. So this is an older edition. This is the 1989 CD release of this one on Castle Classics. Made in France even, my goodness. So it opens with Party Line. That is a fun song. And I think some of the more popular ones on here is Sunny Afternoon. And House in the Country, Rainy Day in June. And then, of course, the last song, I'll Remember. That's my favorite one on here. I think I'll Remember is a song that could have easily been covered by a band in the 90s, I think. It just has that quality to it. Anyway, that is the Kinks' Face to Face. And then interesting, I was thinking about The Who. I always had this feeling that their debut album was released in 1966, and it was released in the United States, possibly North America altogether, in I think it was spring of 1966, but the original debut album by The Who was released in December of 1965. So all those songs like My Generation, The Ox, and all those other ones on there, they are from 1965. But The Who did release their second album, a quick one, in 1966. This album for me is a kind of a dip between the debut and The Who Sell Out. And I think it's just because the debut and The Who Sell Out have a variety of songs, including some more rockin' songs, you know, distorted guitar and more, I don't know, I don't want to say energy because The Who tend to play very energetically anyway, but just the songs that are more likely to be put in the proto-punk, possibly proto-metal category. I feel they're just more of those, and actually none of these on here, except for track 2, Boris the Spider. Some people like to point out the kind of gruff, growly vocals on there, but I don't think they're anywhere near death metal growls, so let's not get too excited, everyone. Anyway, that is The Who with a quick one. And of course, yeah, they did, we got My Generation, Land of Glory. There's probably some bonus tracks on here for sure. No, the last track on the original album is a quick one, While He's Away, which was the first attempt of Pete Townshend to write a mini rock opera, which was, you know, that would lead to much bigger things later on. Okay, so another important album from December of 66, the debut album by Cream. What an album, what a sound. The thing that really impresses me about this album is really the guitar tone and just the overall sound of the band. If we think about 1966, most bands were kind of raw sounding. There was a garagey sound to them. Maybe they have that fuzz box, or, you know, they've got like the damaged speakers and that. The guitar tone on this album sounds already like at least 3 years ahead of its time. If you had played for me Toad, those opening guitar chords in Toad, if you played that for me and told me this is from 1969, I would have believed you completely. 1966, that is pretty amazing. Also, the track Spoonful, the Cream's cover of Spoonful, it is the favorite version of all the ones. My favorite version of all the versions that I have. I think I have 4 or 5 different versions. I used to have a 10 Years After album that had Spoonful on it as well. Cream's version is just the tops. That is a monster of a track there. Love it. And in my 2006 video at the very end, I hinted I would do this video with Jefferson Airplane Takes Off. I have a cropped cover here. It should be like a postage stamp, and it should say Takes Off down here like this. That's how it was supposed to be, and I unfortunately have this cropped version here. But I really like this album is a really good introduction to the band. Like, already they are doing what they would do for the next couple of albums, so it does sound like Jefferson Airplane. It's not like they went through some big transition. They did have a singer, what was her name now? Signe Tolley Anderson. I don't know how to pronounce her first name. Is it Signe or Signe? Not sure, but somebody will know that. Anyway, yeah, she was the original female vocalist before Grace Slick came along. So what do we got? Blues from an Airplane is a great start to the album. Actually, it's a really cool song too. I like that one. It's No Secret, Bringing Me Down, Let Me In. Yeah, this is a nice, good start to Jefferson Airplane's career, I think. They did cover Tobacco Road on here. That's not really all that exciting a song. But anyway, whatever. Yeah, so there we go. Jefferson Airplane Takes Off, 1966. So here is actually a compilation from Nowhere, the Trogs. Actually, this compilation includes 15 tracks. Now, I checked the Discogs listing for the original album by the Trogs. It was a 12-track album. So there are 3 extra tracks in here, and I'm not sure if there was like an American release and a British release, and then, you know, there were different track listings from the 2 different albums, and maybe they just put them all together onto this one. But anyway, 15 tracks, including all of the original album, and then there are some bonus tracks as well. Actually, the Trogs are pretty darn rockin' heavy for their time. Like, we know them for Wild Thing, but if you listen to songs like their cover of Louie Louie, that is pretty heavy. And there is a song called, I forgot what it's called now, Lost Girl, and another one called From Home. They both have this similar riff, this dung 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 dung. Lost Girl was a Lost Girl, right? Lost Girl is a little bit like lower and heavier in tone, but then from here, geez, I'm starting to forget all the names of the things I wanted to talk about. From Home is the track. It's got this like very fuzzy, distorted guitar, and it has a mean riff to it as well. A pretty cool track. Also, a few other ones on here were also pretty rockin' songs as well. So yeah, pretty solid, hard, heavy rockin' group for 1966. Speaking of which, that brings us over to the Sonics. This is a compilation called Psychosonic. It includes their entire first album and their entire, I think it's their second or third album. Anyways, called Boom, which was released in 1966. So from track 15, called Cinderella, up to track 26, Shot Down. That's the entire second album, Boom, there from 1966. This has my favorite version of Louie Louie. The Sonics version of Louie Louie is just so mean and like it's so tough and mean. Even the guitar solo is just like almost demented in a way, like they're just like slowly torturing you by giving you noogies in the temple here, like, and it's really cool. And then also He's Waiting. I've always liked that one because it is their own song. I believe it's their own song, their own riff, and yeah, it's about this girl who's cheating on her boyfriend, fooling around, but she's a bad girl and Satan's watching you. He's waiting. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Anyway, love the Sonics. They're such a high energy band. 1966 for their second album included on this. Another American band from 66, we have the Seeds with a very nice fuzzy guitar, garage rock, almost psychedelic type of an album. And this includes the entire Seeds album on here, plus a string of bonus tracks. I think Evil Hoodoo is the one I like the best. It's like over 5 minutes of just really fuzzy guitar riff. A little bit repetitive in a way, but yeah, really cool. And there's also a track, Pushing Too Hard was, I think, their big song. There was some American drama or comedy sitcom type thing in the 1960s. I saw a video of this, a scene from there. They appear on that. They're like one of the youth in the story. They know that person knows the band, and the band come over and perform Pushing Too Hard in the living room. Anyway, you can find the clip on YouTube, but that's the Seeds, 1966. And then one of my favorite bands of the 60s, this is the Music Machine, who are known for their song Talk Talk, which is, I think it appeared on like the first Nuggets compilation. And it's really unfortunate that they were only really known for that song, because it's a great song. What's really cool about it is it's about 1 minute and 56 seconds, but it has, I think, 3 major rhythm changes. The drumming is pretty complex, actually, and it's just overall a really cool song. But yeah, they have their entire first album here, The Music Machine, from 1966. And then there are additional tracks. This is quite a compilation. I think this is everything the Music Machine did. And then what happened was that like the members left, there was a changeover, and then it became the Bonniwell Music Machine because of Sean Bonniwell back here. And they did some recordings, and then Sean Bonniwell did some solo recordings as well. So I think this is everything the Music Machine did. And from their album, 1966 album, there's of course Talk Talk, but some other really cool songs on here are Trouble. They do a cover of Taxman. My favorite one, aside from Talk Talk, is Worry. Sorry, it's not called Worry, it's called Wrong. Wrong, that is a pretty intense song with fuzz tone guitar and yeah, even a kind of a soulful wow just before the lead guitar break there. They also cover Hey Joe on here, which is interesting because Hey Joe, as I will tell shortly, was being covered by various bands during 1966, and they were all of a similar style. And the Music Machine did a more psychedelic version of it, their own unique version. I haven't heard anyone else do a version like they did. And they were planning to release it in December of 1966. And then the Jimi Hendrix Experience released their cover of it, which, yeah, okay. Didn't work out for the Music Machine. But I will be talking about them again because I will do my If I Had Been a Headbanger In. My series is going from 1966 up to 1978. So I'm going to be mentioning the Music Machine, certainly in 1966 and 1967 when I get around to it. I'm actually working on putting together the 1966 10 selected songs. So we'll talk about the Music Machine more. For now, let's move on to The Shadows of Night and their 1966 album. It says here Gloria. That's it. It's just called Gloria because they did a cover of the song Gloria. They also have one song on here, and for the, I did this last night too when I recorded the original video. I cannot remember the name of the track, but one of the tracks on here is, again, a really good fuzz tone guitar rocker, and the one that I like best from this album. Unfortunately, I really can't remember the title. It is on a playlist on the phone that is recording this video. They also have some covers here like Let It Rock and Boom Boom. These were songs that the Yardbirds did as covers. So it seems that the Yardbirds covered songs from the Chicago blues scene, and then American bands liked the Yardbirds and decided to cover the same songs. I noticed that with a few of the garage rock bands from the US in 1966. They're covering the same songs that the Yardbirds covered in 1964. So anyway, that's The Shadows of Night. And then here we go. Here's The Leaves. So this here includes the first 12 tracks is the entire Leaves album from 1966, and then some bonus tracks. What The Leaves are perhaps most famous for is that they are responsible for the first commercial release of the song Hey Joe. So I actually want to do a video about the song Hey Joe. I have one in mind because I have a few different versions. But the story behind it is that David Crosby of the Byrds was friends with the guy who originally started playing Hey Joe. And so the Byrds started covering it. They played it in their live shows. And the Byrds were friends with Love and with the Leaves. And the Leaves thought, that's a great song. Byrds, you guys should record it. But, David Crosby is like, and then they said, well, Love started playing it. So the Leaves said, Love, one of you bands record it. And then they got wind that another band somewhere else was thinking to record it. So the Leaves recorded it first and became the first ones. They sent a single off to the radio station, which was rejected. I think they recorded it a second time, if I remember the story correctly, sent it off and it was rejected. And they recorded it one more time, but this time there was problems with the amplifier. The guitar amplifier was fuzzing out strangely, giving a buzzy sound. So the guitar tone is distorted, and they sent it to the third version to the radio station, and that one there, the radio station played, and it became kind of a hit for them. So then Love had to do it, and the Standells had to do it, and then the Byrds said, oh, hell with it, fine, we'll do it too. And then, of course, like I said, the Music Machine did it. I think there was one other band who did it, and meanwhile, over in the UK, The Creation were including it in their live set, so it was just floating all around everywhere, Hey Joe. And then, of course, finally, the Jimi Hendrix Experience launched their career with a release of it as a single in 1966. But anyway, that's The Leaves with they do a faster version of it, which was the original version that was going around in California. So that's pretty cool. We have a band from Iceland. Their English name is Thor's Hammer, but their Icelandic name was something like Hljomar, Hljomar, so something like Hljomar, because the J is probably pronounced like a Y as it is in Danish. So anyway, they have their, I don't remember now, but the first bunch of tracks, probably the first 12, are from their 1966 album, and then there are some additional bonus tracks on here. Actually, this one has all the dates on the back too. So there were a couple of tracks. One is called I Don't Care, and the other one is called My Life. Those are two fuzzy garage rockers, which I really like. The rest of the songs, not as fuzzy, not as intense. There's a variety of different stuff, including some very laid-back lounge music for the grandparents. But aside from that, yeah, those two tracks definitely are really great to listen to, and then a lot of other good ones. So that is Thor's Hammer, or Hljomar, I guess. Anyway, from Iceland, 1966. And one more album. This is The Remains, and they have their 1966 album here, plus bonus tracks here. The opening track, Heart. That's a really good one. You should check out The Remains song, Heart. It's good. They have an interesting guitar riff to it. Otherwise, it is pretty much a good, solid 1966 American East Coast rock band. And there's one other song on here whose title, I think it's track number 6, You Got a Hard Time Coming. Pretty cool song. And then at the very end, we get some really fuzzy guitar chords to close out the song, which is cool. So that is The Remains. Okay, and I have one other album here, The Yardbirds. I think it's self-titled or also known as Roger the Engineer, because that's what it says on the cover here. I bought this back around 1989 or so for $19.99, and I found out that in Canada, and I found out that it is actually a Toshiba EMI. This is a Japanese edition. So I looked it up on Discogs. It looks like it is from 1979. Yeah, there's something in here like the Rock's Greatest or something like that, a series that Toshiba EMI put out, and this is one of them. So that seems to be the one from 1979. Anyway, this is their 1966 album. Of course, the names here, Chris Drea, Jim McCarty, Jeff Beck, Keith Ralph, and Paul Samuel Smith. So this is prior to Jimmy Page joining the band, Paul Samuel Smith still being a member of the band at the time. Over, Under, Sideways, Down is on here. And I think I don't remember. The Yardbirds also had an album called Over, Under, Sideways, Down. It's hard to say because I noticed like a lot of these 60s bands, they will release an album with a track list and then they will release another album. And there might be one or two songs that are the same. And I'm not sure if one is the UK release and one is the American release, or if they, what they were doing. So not sure. Yeah, Jeff's Boogie, He's Always There. Actually, He's Always There is pretty cool. Yeah, anyway, A Hot House of Omagarashid. Something like that. Anyway, yeah. So that is my 1966 album collection. I'll just quickly show you what I have on the CD. And remember, on compilations. And remember that if you want to see more about them, I do have that unlisted video. So this is The Outsiders, a band from Holland, the Netherlands, sorry. Let's call them the Netherlands, shall we? So pretty cool looking bunch of guys on the back there. And there are 5 or 6 tracks on here from 1966. This covers 1965 up to about 1968 or so. This is Q65. So this compilation includes all but 3 of the songs from their 1966 album called Revolutions. And I highly recommend listening to Cry in the Night and I Despise You. Those are 2 of Q65's really rockin' fuzzy tone songs. This is like if the Rolling Stones just had more distortion in their music and Pound for Pound had more weight in the drum beat, and then the vocals, like Mick Jagger, just had more sneery, growly voice. Cool band, lots of heavy hitters on that one. I've got a compilation of the easy beats, and the first 3 tracks on here are from 1966. We have The Misunderstood from California, and there are 6 tracks that they recorded when they went off to London. I talked about it more in the long video that I've now unlisted, so if you want more details, check it out there. Otherwise, I just have to say that those 6 tracks that they recorded in late 1966 are really incredible. I don't know any other band who was recording like this. They've got Rick Brown on vocals with this very powerful, low, I don't know if it's baritone, but anyway, low, like a bit of like a typo negative or Danzig type voice. You have a guy named Glenn Campbell, not the country western guy, playing lap steel guitar. And then you have Tony Hill, who later on started High Tide, is playing the lead guitar on here. So really, really cool tracks. All of them like 2-3 minutes long, but incredible, composition, songwriting. We have The Birds with an I. This is a British band. This is Ronnie Wood here. And they also had a few tracks from 1966. They appeared in a movie in 1966. I think it's called The Killer Bees. It is a B movie, no joke, no pun intended, but it is a B horror movie called The Killer Bees, and they make an appearance in there. And actually, it's a really cool song, so check it out on YouTube. The Birds and the Killer Bees, I guess. Is it the Birds and the Bees? The Birds and the Killer Bees? Whatever. Got another band called The Sorrows. They have only, I think, 3 or 4 tracks from 1966. I think it was that I checked their singles on Discogs, and there were 3 singles, but it didn't say what the B-side was. I think I have to actually click on the product to see what the B-side was. So there's at least 3 songs from 66 on here, possibly 6. And this is also a band worth checking out. There's a series of videos of them performing various songs live, and they are also interesting. Again, you have this vocalist with the lower tones and some pretty cool drumming. I think these bands are listed as R&B bands, but I feel it is not your R&B from 1963. This is like R&B moving into a kind of garage rock inspired direction, but on the way towards freak beat. Something like that. That's my interpretation. We have The Creation. They also had about 3 tracks, including Making Time and Painter Man and Try and Stop Me. The first 3 tracks on this are from 1966. Really cool band. You've got the guitarist Eddie Phillips playing with a violin bow, said to have inspired Jimmy Page to do the same. I actually forgot to include this in the last video, but this is the Art Woods with John Lord. He was in this band, and this is Art Wood, brother of Ronnie Wood, with John Lord. And there are some pretty cool tracks. The earliest tracks on here actually go back to 1964, but there are a few from 1966. And then, of course, just some Yardbirds compilations that I have. This fat box set, including 2 discs and lots of cool stuff. Like this one here also covers from the Eric Clapton years all the way up to Think About It from Little Games. And what I really love is the work that Jeff Beck does with the guitar in 1966. He really was bringing out the hardness, the heftiness, the distorted, and, you know, like I think it was Richie Blackmore who said that in 1966, Jeff Beck was inventing hard rock. Or something to that effect anyway. So yeah, always love what Jeff Beck was doing in 1966 with the Yardbirds. And that's it. That's just a quick rundown of the compilations I have. So I want to stop this video now, but like I said, if you want to see the longer one, go back to the beginning and find the link, or look for the link in the description. Thank you all for watching, and I'll be back again with some more tags. I still got some tags to do. All right, everyone. Cheers. Bye.